Hello everybody, welcome back as ever to Building Blocks, where we program Minecraft mods live on camera, and usually things go marginally to plan and marginally to pot. But such is development of basically anything these days, really. So, yeah. So, last time on Building Block Z, we more or less perfected, I want to say, the final touches of the visuals for our Kirin archfey, which is the counterpart to the witch, who is also a patron that you can make a deal with and get some cool beans as a consequence. Which you should absolutely not plant in your backyard because they will spread a beanstalk, and then you'll have to go up there and like kill a giant. And then since then, I applied the code for the Kirin's third eye, and added it to the lightlings. So, lightlings can now have up to 7 eyes, and here's what it looks like, because all of them actually stare at you. And unlike the Kirins, these ones do rotate around as the entity turns, so consequently they will stay in place if I was to, if they were to, like, rotate in any fashion. And, oh boy, it's... depending on your view, it might be considered creepy, or it might just be considered interesting. So, what if you want to kill a giant? What if you plant the cool beans in a plant pot? Well, I'm joking, of course. We didn't program any of that last time. First time catching the stream since you finally finished your summer semester of color? Can you just say the lightlings are so cute? Yeah. Imagine them running around. They don't really have any AI to speak of just yet. They'll wander, they'll look. That's about the extent of it. But we will be adding more to them in the very near future. But for right now, our concerns are with these folk, I guess. That little artifacting is a result of me turning off part of the witch's code improperly, I guess would be the phrase. But here we have the Kirin, and the Kirin legit looks like possibly the most, like, beautiful mob I have ever modeled. So grats on that. But, yeah, if we check here, we can see that they have proper heights. Their eye height is now at the appropriate level, so they will look properly at you as opposed to slightly higher or lower than they should. Their height is set as is because they are, strictly speaking, slightly more than 2 blocks tall. And if I was to make them slightly more than 2 blocks tall, they wouldn't be able to fit through doors or anywhere else that a player might be. So we want to make sure that they can actually fit in that area. Just it's more of like a use case kind of situation. Poor witch isn't even the favorite. I mean, I love this. But the witch has like 4 or 5 different models to their name. The Kirin only has the one. So I'm going to presume that like the same amount of beauty in the Kirin's model is spread out across the different models of the witch. The witch has a lot to them in order to look like that occasionally. So, hey, there's that. But anyways, today we're going to be working on some AI for them to make sure that they're, you know, interesting and whatnot to be around. In like, beyond their unique and stylish appearances, they also need to actually have some degree of like behavior to see that when a player happens upon them in the wild, they're like, huh, that's interesting, beyond looking really sweet. And then it does like interesting stuff, that kind of thing. So, first thing I'm gonna do is just quickly turn off that glow so that you don't end up with the elf over the elf over the witch like disguise there. So let's see, Wonder, right turn witch. There you are. Now we want the witch, the elf glow. There you are. There, that just turns that off. I think. Is that the only trail as well? Yeah. There we go. That should fix that for the time being. We are going to be redoing the elf disguise, because it looks fine, but I think we can do a lot better than that. But for right now, we're just turning it off. So we just have the regular witch, we have the crone, we have the changeling outfit as well, and we have the fox, just on occasion. Yeah. But okay. So, first thing that I think we want to do is make it so that our patrons just sort of hang in the same area. Not the same collective area, but the same area where they start. So that when we spawn them in with World Gen later on, they'll actually hang around that location. So that you can actually, like, reliably find them. Because if you happen to, like, get them whilst you're out mining or something, your inventory is full and you want to get rid of it before you, like, potentially chance something bad happening and then, like, losing all of your stuff. So, we just want to make sure. I'm just going to dial that back a bit. There we go. So we're going to make sure that they actually hang around the same location so you can find them. And that is relatively easy to accomplish. So if we go into Entity Archfey, which both of them actually extend from, then public entity data, I think it is, on initial spawn. Am I correct in that? Or am I completely off base? Entity living data, there you are. Okay. Return data in for the hot minute. Am I overriding the right fraction? Is that getting used anywhere? Next question. Nope, because I've gotten it wrong. What's a good example of this? Zombies. Difficult instance. There we are. Okay. That's what I'm looking for. Right. Just return null, I guess. Right. Okay. So, on the initial spawn, we want to set their home position. Now, every creature in Minecraft, for some reason, has a home position, but only a handful of them actually use it. The most recent and obvious example of this being turtles. They will use it in order to find their way back to where they hatched. We are going to be actually using it to set where we should be hanging around. So we can wait for that just to hold up. There you go. Okay, and this would be get position to a distance of about 8 blocks. Okay. Now we have get home position. Where is that actually referenced? Enter move towards restriction and random position generator. Yeah, they're set to move towards that when they have this. I don't know that we still have that inside of our archfey. Move towards restriction. Right there. Okay. I'm presuming get home position is then also actually written into NBT data if there's a function here for it. You'd think that, but no, I don't see it actually anywhere here. That is literally the only place that it's called out of. Oh boy, okay. That's fine. That's fine. We just have to go to our NBT data. Okay, that should be correct. Yep, good. I'm not going like one step ahead, am I? Right entity to NBT. There we are. Yeah. Going a little high function there. Okay. So we need to actually write a home position as well as the distance to it from there. So create position tag home position. And that creates for us an every tag component. Which we can just say compound.set tag home to that. Call it home position, why not? Set integer home dist to this dot get home maximum home distance. There we go. Does it need to be a float? We can't actually set it as a float. The value goes in as just an integer. So, doesn't make too much sense, really. If you complete your Kirin pack, would you see the changeling's real forms? No. That's only really meant to be a thing that happens if you complete the Witches Pact. So if compound has key home boss, then let's see this set home position and distance. That would be mdt util dot get position from compound dot get compound tag home position and compound dot get integer home dist. There. Okay, that should mean that they don't wander too far away from where they are initially spawned. Should being the operative word. So if we set their home position to be around a certain area in our world, then they should stick around there. But yeah, it doesn't really make much sense to give a reward at the end of the Kirin Pact that you will only remotely be able to experience if somebody else completes the Witch Pact. So it's like you've completed this long quest line. Here's a reward that you can only get by actually completing another really long quest line. Doesn't make too much sense that way. Okay, so let's see, where do we want to put them? Oh yes, there's another thing with the Kirin. TP addy type equals Arod patron Kirin. It was at that moment he knew. Will be Kirin's reward. The Kirin like Xeroth tier at the top is you get really good relationship with the Lightling faction, and then Lightlings attack people that try to cut down trees and forests. Entity data at E type equals borrowed. Patron Kirin. No AI, 0B. There you go. So one thing that I added by request of Kirin themselves was that when it is raining or when the Kirin is otherwise inside of water, then they should absolutely get struck by lightning. So if we do that, we'll see that happen every now and then. Is it just any tree or any in a specific biome, and does this count as player planted? There is basically no way for me to actually figure out which trees were planted by a player, especially after they've become a tree rather than a sapling. So it is pretty much exclusionary to biome. If there is a forest biome where it detects a block of wood or leaf being broken, then we determine it's a tree, and then lightlings and such. But yeah, this happens if the Kirin is in rain. Fortunately for the Kirin, though, because they are the archfey of forests and thunder, they do actually get healed by lightning damage. So that shouldn't ever kill them. And even if it gets close, they have a boss attack for that. What if you're breaking your house? There's again no way for me to know this. If it's a log or a leaf, then lightlings. Anyways, let's set your home position. So let's have, let me see, yellow wool and cyan wool. So that there and that there. Now what is this position that I'm staring at? So let's see, home, pos. See if I remember how to do this whole thing. Oh boy. So X is negative 238, Y is 4, and Z is 834, and home dist should be 8. Whoop, and you want it over here. Okay, that's a good sign. So the Kirin shouldn't stray too far from this home position. Ooh, there's an interesting little glitch with our horns there. Oh, interesting. Feels like that's not necessarily working. Because they're off into the sunset. Kirin? Okay, yeah, we've got work to do, everybody. Kirin, please. Okay, well, as long as I'm here, let's quickly grab this. For the witch, we're gonna set these coordinates to 249. And bring the Kirin back, who really, really wants to leave. I don't know why that is. Okay, I'm just gonna grab myself a command block to actually bring them back. Those coordinates. 238 for 834. Is that correct? 834, not 84. Okay. You stop that. Okay, and we'll grab a similar one for the witch. And that was set to 249. You stop that, come on. Behave. Yeah, they really want to go. I don't know why. But we shall find out momentarily. So let's have a look at the AI task that ostensibly uses this, which is move towards restriction. So block position and vec 3D, random block 2, find random target block towards their home position. I don't know why they're using doubles and a vec 3D here, it really wouldn't take much. Looking for the manager? This is where the witch also flees. I mean, they'll be running the same exact AI code in this regard, so yeah, that's likely. Is within home distance current position. Home distance from position. Maximum home distance equals -1f, then return true. Otherwise, distance squared lower than that by that. Okay. Let's just quickly check the function here. Yep, that does set the actual correct values. So why then do we see them fleeing for the hills, rather than trying to go back to their home position? That is the question. Should use default move AI. Should be correct for them. Yep, that doesn't get changed, so that shouldn't be related. Well, let's reboot them and find out. Kirin, but they make mountains? Sounds like Perforce to me. We will be adding some ambience block effects to them, so the most obvious of the two will be that the Kirin is going to be placing saplings and growing trees in the vicinity, whereas the witch will be placing the occasional cobweb. But that requires that they not head for the hills every time I unfreeze them. Yeah, there's definitely some problems going on, you can see that there. As well as with the Kirin's horns. There's presumably something that I haven't, like, popped properly. Entity data type equals far odd patron which no AI 0 B. And let's just see if we can see your home position. Home dist 8, yes, okay. Where is home position in here? Home position. 0, 0, 0. Ah! Right, that's why they're trying to flee, because they're trying to get back to 0, 0, which is all the way over there. Okay. Because I lowercased these characters, and they are in fact in uppercase. It's the best kind of error. The kind that's my fault. Whoop. That is an ominous thing to see in the distance right there. Just a xenomorph queen, you know, just hanging out. Okay, we should see Dave come back as well. Yeah, is that... Yeah, that's related to the light link code. Because I can see it only messes up when they're in frame. I probably need to relog to get them to go away. Anyways, let me just look away, children. Da-da-da-dum. Fortunately, that does not affect my faction rep, which I think is actually also pretty poor currently with the light links. Patron Kirin, yes, and it gave me the right thing, and it said the correct numbers, okay. Oh, they've stopped. Are they gonna come back here? Yes, thank you. Oh, good. Alright. Turns out, when you actually write the code properly, it works a lot better. Right. So now they shouldn't wander more than about 8 blocks away from where they start. And yes, 8 blocks is what we set that to. Good. Phew. What a good goat god lad. I mean, they're not quite a lad, but sure. Okay. So now that we can actually have... This also means, for the purposes of our development here, that they will also stay within the same area despite having their AI turned on, which means we don't have to keep them inside of the force cage of shame over there. You cannot contain goat. They're free to wander as they desire here. They'll just always be around these positions, which is helpful for us. Okay. So now let's see if we can get some things going for them. So down here we have a list of all the stuff that was going on, and this is all of the stuff that we came up with that they should be able to use in terms of spell abilities. So a few of these require things we haven't created yet. So for instance, Live Oak requires Trents. We haven't created Trents. Shambler requires Shambling Mounds. We also have not created Shambling Mounds yet. Storm of Vengeance, as well as like control weather effects in general, we need extra code for ideally to create localized weather. Currently all weather is global, so if you use control weather 500 chunks away from your friend, they'll have the same weather effect you do, so it doesn't really work yet. We're hoping, I'm hoping at the very least, to inject some code for that. Plant growth, I think, is gonna be the first thing that we check out once I quickly grab the D20 SRD for it. There you are. Okay. So, here is the plant growth spell. It's 3rd level, not the most powerful thing in the world. If I was to put pool noodles on Kirin's horns, what would happen? They'd probably catch fire since they're made of lightning. That's an obvious one. But yes, so there is enrichment. The effect targets plants within a range of 1/2 mile, raising their potential productivity over the course of the next year to 1/3 above normal. Not the interesting thing for us. Overgrowth. This effect causes normal vegetation, grasses, briars, bushes, creepers, thistles, trees, vines within a long range to become thick and overgrown. The plants entwine to form a thicket or jungle that creatures must hack or force a way through. Speed drops to 5 feet or 10 feet for larger creatures. The area must have brush and trees in it for the spell to take effect. At your option, the area can be a 100-foot radius circle, or a 150-foot radius semicircle, or a 200-foot radius quarter circle. You may designate places within the area that are not affected. Basically, this is what we're going to be using so that the Kirin can keep the area nice and full of trees and as such. Never ran away, just went directly to their indoor pen. Oh, used to help at a farm and walk goats into a pasture, but if they want to go back to the barn, they'd bounce over the pasture and just come home on their own terms. Wow. Casting time, 1 standard action. Can you imagine all of that happening in, like, the span of 6 seconds? Oy. But yeah, we're gonna try and make this effect itself, just, like, by itself as a thing that the Kirin can do. And if we get that done, then it's very easy to make a version for the witch. And once I've done that, I think I've got a little, like, cosmetic armor item that I would like to create, which we might do, which hopefully we can get to tonight as well. But I digress. So, for this, we're gonna need a new boss attack. So AI, boss, here's all of the attacks that we've currently gotten. So new class, attack, patron, Kirin, overgrowth, I guess we'll call it. And this needs to implement boss attack. So here we have all of the things that are necessary for it. There's the cooldown, there's the priority, the name. Never ran away, just went directly to their indoor pen. I need to remember how name is used. This is, of course, just the things you absolutely need to know about a boss attack. There's a fair few defaults. So I think by default you can't interrupt a attack that's currently being cast. The cast time is also something you can manipulate a fair bit. But if you want to make something that's like, I'm casting a spell and it's taking 5 minutes for whatever reason, do enough damage to me and then I will, like, lose my spell, that kind of thing, you can. Boss attacks were built to be very versatile in that regard. Yeah, we don't... translated name. There we are. So it's boss.prefix, boss.varrod, get name. So, yeah, that's fine. Just gonna return Palent growth. Or I guess we'll call it overgrowth. Because that's the only part of the spell that we're actually using. Priority, let's put that on a 6. I can't recall if it's the higher. Higher the more likely. Yeah, let's put that on a 2 then. And for cooldown, let's see, reference values, minutes times 5. So once every 5 minutes, they can do that. Let's see, what also change is valid. Ton of defaults inside of here, but all of them helps it go quite nicely. Get duration. Yeah, we want to change the duration of this. So return reference values. Let's say this takes place over 6 seconds, just so you can actually see it happening. We don't think we want anything significant happening whilst it's being cast. Using casting and prevents movement, using prevents movement, yep, definitely, that's fine. 1 second of casting time, yeah, that's fine as well. Yeah, okay. That's about all we need from that. So, in order to perform it, we should try and select random blocks around the Kirin within a fairly decent range. The spell calls for 100 feet. 100 feet to meters. is 30.48 blocks. We'll call it 30 blocks, shall we? So for int I equals 0, I is less than, let's see, source boss dot get, or we should probably just grab the RNG anyways. Rand equals source boss dot get RNG. Would help if I could spell. There we go. I know that there are people who have like dyslexia and are programmers, and honestly, they are braver than a marine. Next integer 3 plus 1 I plus plus. Okay. And I think this must be the Java one. Here we go. Right. So from there, we want to pick a block within 30. Ideally not too far vertically different. If it's vertically different, A, it can frequently end up being completely, like, underground, in which case you'll never see it. B, it might not have access to the sun, which wouldn't make much sense even with magic. So, yeah. So, block position plus equals new block plus rand.next int 60 minus 30 rand.next int, call it 10 minus 5, and another one with the 60. It's not a perfect circle, but should suffice for our purposes here. We do also want to get the boss's position, the boss plus. And then we can just change that to an add. There we go. So that gives us a random position. Now, the first thing we want to check is there grass directly underneath it, and does it have access to the sky? Which means we're also going to need the world. You can just access the world value of an entity directly, but I always prefer to get things through a function provided if there is one. So if, let's see, boss world dot can block see sky, boss pos, no, we want pos, don't we? So let's call that our start. And, let's see, boss world dot get block state pos dot down, which is the block directly underneath it, dot get material equals material dot grass. So if it can see the sky and it is grass, then gonna strangle Twitch. What's up, Dusty? Then we can plant ourselves a sapling right there if we wanted. Let's see what bone meal does. Fertilizer? Okay, because it's not. I guess it's not its own thing. Interesting. Kept buffering? Oh dear. Let's go to items. That should be easiest way to find it. Not mine. Not my items. Those items. Interesting. Okay, then it must be part of item dye. So, yeah, apply bone meal. Right there. Where does this even get, like, cold, I wonder? By dispensers, apparently. Specifically by dispensers. On item use. Can player edit? Dye color. If it's white, then it's bone meal, and then it applies that. Okay, right. That makes a bit more sense. iGrowable.gr. That's interesting. Block. Huh, interesting. Grass counts as a growable block. Yeah, just places tall grass around it. Interesting, interesting. So, let's see. If there's air there, we want to place a sapling. If there's not air there, we want to call the position down where there's grass and make that grow. Wait, no, that's not right either. If it's a sapling, we want it to grow. If it's not a sapling, we want to place a sapling until the grass underneath to grow. I think. I think that'll work best. More or less we can get from here. You might just be able to call that directly from item die. Igargle is just the block. Okay. This we can manage. Boss world, we want the boss's random number, we want the position, and we want the block state, which is the grass. And that's okay. And then we place ourselves a sapling. So this would be blocks.sapling.default state, which I think will just place oak currently. We can change that up later. Otherwise, we pretty much just want to have it try and grow the sapling. Okay. Do I want to expressly be just saplings? That's the question. Well, one way to find out, I guess. Do we want to get the block state? Yeah, we do. Okay. So, we'll add that to the Kirin. So, add attack, new attack, patron, Kirin, overgrowth. So that will go in, and then we'll just have to tweak exactly when it thinks it's valid so that the Kirin does not constantly try to create a forest around itself. But we'll get to that in a couple of minutes. See you then. Right, welcome back everybody. So, just before we left for our break there, we had put together the makings of a boss attack that should hopefully not be quite too dreadful here. Let's see what we get. Oh, it is literally already working. Wow, okay. Yep, that is the effects of the presence of the Kirin. Planting a whole bunch of flowers and tall grass and also saplings. And we weren't even in-game by the time that got cast, so oof. But that does appear to be working properly, so we've got the bone meal effect happening, we do have saplings being planted. Obviously we haven't gotten the effect on a sapling just yet, but that is a good start. And also obviously it has a delay of... oh, there we go, there's a tree, but that might just be the random tick speed. So let's just get that turned off, just to be clear. Kirin has one ability, and by the gods, are gonna use it. I mean, it's also that it's used like, it's used for a significant duration before it's done. What did we set that to? Duration is 6 seconds. It does up to 3 like test. It finds up to 3 blocks per like tick. So 6 times 20 is 1,200. No, 120. I'm thinking of 60. So it's 120 times it gets used up to that, so it just does a bunch. But it does that over the course of like 6 seconds. So that is a good start. But let's reduce the cooldown so that we can see if it will actually grow any of these saplings. And then we can also control exactly when it happens. So we set that to 5 seconds. And see what happens. This might result in quite a mess, but we'll see. I should also make it so that it can't place saplings within a certain radius of the Kirin, because otherwise there might just be a tree that grows in them. There's a fort. So distance squared to the boss position is greater than, call it 36 blocks, I guess. So yeah, otherwise it'll just bone build the area. So I will just reboot that so that code takes effect. Don't worry about that, it's fine. So within 6 blocks it will only bone meal, but beyond 6 blocks it will actually try to grow saplings. Well, place saplings, I should say. So now they can use this every 6 seconds. This is going to be interesting to see. Yep. That, by the way, is the visual effect when a boss attack is being used, provided that the name is a visible feature. Which helps us to know when it's being used, and also gives you an idea of what's being used. What horror trope would a tree grows in you be? Body horror, I think. So if we see any trees grow, besides that one, which we think just happened randomly, then we should... It should be purely because of the Kirin applying the effect. So many trees. Such a wide area just from wandering around their home position. How am I going to clear this grass? Commands! That's how. Figured I'd know. I mean, yeah. I mean, that happens in the course of Annihilation, which is a really great movie. You should really go see that one if you haven't already. In Annihilation, there is a character who sort of like the main theme of Annihilation is things like blending, and that includes plants with people. So one of the characters sort of becomes one with the foliage, and that's pretty much what you're describing. And I would describe that as being body horror. We've got so many trees, so many potential trees here, and yet nothing's growing yet. You'd have thought by now it would actually have hit one of the saplings. Did I turn tick speed back on? No! Because this is a bone meal effect, and if we had random tick speed on, we would get erroneous results. Because the saplings themselves would just randomly grow. What we're looking for here is the Kirin actually being responsible for the growing. So far, all we got is a pretty decent measure of just how far away they can actually grow. But no sign as yet of actual treeage. But it is getting very overgrown down here. Has to be said. What we are looking for is a sapling. We're looking for some growth. We're seeing some grass grow. We're seeing tall grass grow. But we haven't seen any saplings grow yet. I wonder if they're actually counted as being a growable. There's a question. Let me just quickly check the sapling. No, they count as they count as growable. Okay. Yeah, all of that tall grass that we're seeing, that's regular grass here that's getting hit by the bone meal effect. Didn't think of Annihilation as horror. I mean, it fundamentally is horror. It's actually kind of Lovecraftian horror. But it doesn't tend to... It deals a lot more on the psychological kind of deal of things than straight horror. It is good. It is really good. Like, Natalie Portman really did well in that. The alternative here is that I can just have, I can just, like, put a whole ton of saplings down in this area and wait. I'm also seeing a bit of grass here that might have gotten broken, possibly, by the sapling. It's not clear. Not seeing any other items, but let's just turn on a 3B. Oh yeah, there's a few more. So that's something we need to think of, because theoretically that could cause some server performance issues. So let's just F3B that, get rid of it. Okay. And let's see. Let's say we want to replace all of the tall grass with saplings. So that would be sapling 0 replace tall grass. No? Okay, Minecraft tall grass. Oh, am I Too low? Nope, not that. Oh, hey, we have a new tree. It actually happened whilst I was trying to force it to happen. That's good. This is just the verdant area that the Kirin has created here so far. Is it Minecraft sapling? And Minecraft tall grass? Nope. What is this block? Tall grass. Ah, no underscore. That's why. There we go. Okay. We just do that. And then we should see a lot more trees. Reminder, random tick speed is turned off right now. So there should be no further occurrences of random, like, just normal, regular sapling-based tree growth. Every time we see it, it should be because of the Kirin. Did it bone meal grow though, or just, yeah, again, if it's, yeah, our tick speed currently, we check it, is at 0, which means there are no random ticks. Therefore, nothing grows, unless it's forced. If you make a farm near the Kirin, would they grow it for you? Theoretically. Would depend on the farm. But yeah, oh, there's another one. Just gonna watch for another one. And then we'll turn the Kirin's AI off, which should disable their boss attacks, and then we should actually get this going. Trap Kirin in a farm to increase your wheat output. Again, it has to detect a grass material. I don't think farmland counts as grass. Oh, there's another. Okay, yep. I'm gonna call that a successful test. No AI, please. There. So once that boss attack finishes, we should be good. I think. Are you okay there? There. Okay, let's clean this up. So to do that similar thing, we just remove the saplings, essentially. We can more or less leave the trees as they are, but we just want to clean this up a bit. Because now we need to actually add our moderator, as it were. We need to make sure that this doesn't just happen continuously. Now you are double plant. Okay. It's nice to have a little bit of foliage around, but yeah. Wherever the Kirin doth roam, a forest is sure to grow. That's essentially the idea. Forests and thunder. Oh. Oh hey everybody, it's Minecraft 1.12.2 and there's a fox here. A definite actual fox, and certainly not anything else. Did we not get rid of that? No, we got rid of saplings first, that's why. Shouldn't be very much of that, though. We're just vibing while trees grow around them. I mean, that's more or less all that they've had to do for several centuries. Okay, Okay, and let's try flowers next. I do need to worry about that. I think that comes from bone mealing the tall grass. I'm not 100%. Red flower. Yeah, okay. Because of the weird way that Minecraft flowers are put together, Houstonias count as a red flower. Don't ask me why. Can take the Kirin out of the forest. Actually, no, you can't. Correct. Okay, and yellow flowers. That should about finish it up. We'll leave those trees there for the time being, at least. We know that that part of the code works, at the very least. Okay. So now we'll go back to our code here for the overgrowth attack. What is a Houstonia? It's the white flower. There. If the Kirin can't go to the forest will come to the Kirin. That would be an interesting thing. If, like, the Kirin would just, like, drop entities like breadcrumbs, and those breadcrumbs would have this overgrowth effect around them for a period. That could be interesting. But that would be very ineffective unless those entities were also chunk loaders. So... okay. So, first thing we want to check. Can the boss see the sky from its current position? In fact, let's just make a list here. So, if boss can see sky, if boss is standing on grass material, if boss is not in combat, and then we need a limiting factor. So, we can try randomly selecting blocks around us and tallying which of them are log and like leaf, and if they're below a certain percentile, then we can say, okay, there's enough forest in our vicinity, that kind of thing. So if, let's say, less than 30% of surrounding blocks are log or leaf. If boss can see me, I mean, it's not necessarily a huge factor for the Kirin. So if source boss.get attack target. No, do I have a has attack target? No, because this is an end living base. If source boss instance of entity living these are actually these are written as entity living base because we want in the future to give players access to some. Oh, if boss can see sky. Right, yes, I get you. I understand joke now. It happens on occasion. So if living boss.has attack target, nope, get attack target, one of these things must be true. There we go. Equals null. And let's see, we need the world again. And the position. Boss world.can block see sky. Boss. And we're standing on grass again. Which I suppose you can measure that as being like, the Kirin's power is flowing into the ground and like spreading out, that sort of thing. Like lightning strikes. Okay, So if they're not in combat, they can see the sky, they're standing on grass. That's our first major free things. None of that will prevent a massively dense forest appearing over time. So that's our next thing. So if that's growable, and let's see, boss world is air block. Tossed it up. That should prevent us from growing the tall grass. How poetic? Oh yeah. So now here's the hard part. We need to run n amount of positions and see how many of them correlate to the materials that we want, and if they're less than 30%, then we want to say, yeah, you can trigger this, otherwise no. So, let's go with for int I equals 0, I is lower than, let's say 60 times 60, 3,600. You really don't want to be running 3,600 loops in a single execution, especially because this will happen quite a bit. So, let's say 100. 100 is not nothing, but meaningful at the very least. So then we can just return, let's see, we want float our tally number over 100f is lower than 0.3f. Okay, so let's get ourselves a random position. Everywhere the Kirin doth roam, the grass it grows, flowers doth bloom, and the trees sprout and loom. Yeah. Let me see. So, if it's not an air block, it tries to grow it. So yeah, theoretically, if there is a plant at that position, then it would try to like grow it if it was like crops and such. But because the block underneath it needs to be grass material, I don't think that block farmland counts. Yeah, material for farmland is ground, so it won't try to grow your crops, but it will grow your tree farm, I guess, as long as they're on grass rather than dirt. So I guess you could say if you cut down a bunch of trees, because a tree that's grown into a sapling that's grown into a tree will kill the grass underneath it. But if that grass has grown back, then the Kirin will regrow a tree. But okay, right. So for this, we want to try and get a random position, once again, around the boss. Oh, I don't want the rand. And let's reduce that in range down to 40 blocks. Or, now let's say half range. So up to 15 blocks. And then we want to be checking if that block is log or leaf, essentially. So if let's get the block state. So if let's see, plus state.get material equals material dot leaves, then tally plus plus. So there's obviously wood, but that will cover a lot of different things. But I think that's probably fine, because that will also mean it will include modded stuff. And let's also add in grass. Actually, wait, no. If we include grass, it will include the grass he's standing on. Well, they're standing on, whether or not it's actually covered in, like, verdancy. We can check if... We can check if it's not the actual block grass, but... Okay. So we'll keep that at 6 per second for the moment. Tall grass, what is the material of that? Vine, apparently. Once again, you make one mistake on your wood house and it's on site. Oh yeah. I mean, there's a severe limit to what I can do here, Dusty. If you build your house out of identical materials to what the forest is made of, it is very difficult for me to determine what is natural forest and what is player built. To do that, I would need to keep a registry of every block placed, and I did that twice for nature reclaims. There's a limit to what I can do. So if you break a log, yeah. Like, I can add... We haven't coded this in yet. I can theoretically make code to try and detect if it's part of a tree, but... Like, even then, if it's just like, oh, a neighboring tree has grown and now there is a couple of leaf blocks on the top of, like, the central columns of your log cabin, it's still gonna count as a tree. Point of note, breaking, like, the lightlings will be unhappy with you, but breaking the, like, tree, in that case, or the tree, I guess, won't necessarily detract from your reputation with them, so they won't necessarily start attacking you on sight the more you do that. What's more, that only happens in forest biomes. Anyways, what I'm seeing here is the tall grass has vine material. Let's include vine. Okay, so if that's less than 30% of the randomly sourced 100 blocks within a 15 block radius, then should be good. Getting the logs in the first place to build with would be a fight, assuming that you completed the pact by that point, yeah. Okay, so this should mean that after a while, our Kirin stops trying to place stuff. Oh, before I forget, try to grow a sapling. Needs to have an air block above it, and should also be, like, within, like, beyond a certain radius. Just to make sure. 4x4 is 16. Just to make sure we don't accidentally have our Kirin suffocate themselves. So if it's more than 36 blocks squared away from the Kirin, we place a sapling, as well as the bone meal. If it's more than 8... Maybe if it's more than 4 blocks, then it can try to grow as a sapling. Completed pact before making a house just to annoy the lightlings. I mean, don't do that, they're adorable. Mildly creepy, but also very adorable. Okay. Let's see what the Kirin whips up for us now. This is still at the same usage rate as we had before. And now let's also actually get rid of these. Wait, I'm a little stuck. There we go. How loud is that for you guys? Because that seems very loud to me. But then I don't really, like, manipulate my audio settings very much. Mr. Log. Does breaking it in creative count? Don't think so, no. Breaking blocks in creative mode is distinct in the events from doing it as a player. As, like, in survival. Drive-by grabbage. Oh, yeah, bit here. At least it spruced up your pen. Okay. So, entity data. I did, yes, tick speed is back to 0, good. That was visible to me the entire time I was counting that out. Anyways. So, yep. The Kirin thinks this is sufficiently non-verdant that it needs a bit more greenery. Oh boy. Still happening very much along, like, the same altitude as the Kirin compared to, like, the horizontal. Their lateral position, as it were. And once again, any trees that we see growing here will be as a consequence of them, but I will actually just be turning random tick speed up to 3 again, because we already know that that works. Kirin B more green. Kirin B, it's going to, it might rain here. I should make an umbrella. In the most dramatically inefficient manner possible. Like, that's their devious secrets. Is that all of this is because they just need they just need something over their head. Okay, we should hopefully not have any cast off items around here as well, as this goes. And we can see that the area immediately around them does not appear to have any saplings in it, which is exactly what we were looking for. Despite the huge abundance of saplings elsewhere. Kirin got rained on once and decided it wasn't for them. Yeah. I mean, it included lightning. It's not great. That's a nicely placed tree. Yep, we are not seeing any sign of discarded items, so that means the tall grass fix did work. So yeah, they won't try and grow any. They won't try and grow anything within a certain range of them, but if they move, obviously it can still grow. Makes the water pool look cute. Yeah. Nice big tree next to it. Whoop, hello. So do we think that's a good enough thing for a for like a forest? I feel like it needs to have a bit more constraints. I feel like it should try to not place saplings right next to each other and such, because then you just theoretically end up with a near complete, like, chunk of wood. An actual forest should have, like, spacing. Not necessarily a huge amount of spacing, but spacing. Guess this is why witches sticking around them. They know that eventually they'll have an umbrella too. I guess. But yeah, for the witch, we're going to be doing something somewhat similar, if inverted, which is that we're going to be placing lily pads as well as cobwebs and a little bit of dead creep as well. So if you put if the witch is inside of a forest, it should start to look creepy and like abandoned and all that sort of stuff. Whereas if you put the Kirin into an open space, they'll just create a forest. An open space with grass, to be clear. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that looks nice. They haven't stopped yet because they evidently haven't met that requirement, but they do nonetheless have a actual, like, stopping point. So, more than 30 out of 100 need to register as being log, leaf, or vine. Put both of them in an open space and eventually you'll have a creepy forest. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not seeing any items, so I think this has worked nicely. So I can turn hitboxes off now. Rip. Fortunately, that won't suffocate anybody. I mean, you can't get rained on if you're inside of leaves. If you're inside a meter squared of leaves. Yeah, I think that's working nicely. I will... One slight little change, I think, is I'm going to actually alter this to be radial rather than square. Especially because if this does go on for long enough, it does just fill up squares. It doesn't look quite so interesting. So if pos.distance squared to boss is greater than... it's 30 times 30. 900? And then just continue. Or actually, we just have a while for that, shouldn't we? There. So that should mean it will actually be in a circle. Obviously not right now, because we've already got a whole ton here, but later. In fact, as long as I'm here. Actually, I can probably make that 30. That's probably not be too many blocks. What is it? Control middle click? No? Oh, right, I'm on the wrong thing. That's why. And sapling. And turn off Kirin. I imagine the Kirin likes very tall trees so that there is no chance of getting their head snagged on a branch with their horns. That is part of the reason that we made them human-sized. It's because if they're in a forest, then anything less than 2 is going to be hard to navigate. Yep, good. Okay. There we go. insta-cleaned. Ish. Obviously, we need to get rid of the trees around here. It's double plant, isn't it, this? Yes. For the magic of command blocks, which are not perfect for testing, but are sufficiently good, at least for the case of this. There we go. So, in a matter of minutes, using only default normal random tick speed, the Kirin's already made a section of forest there. Oh, and the witch did manage to get out of the leaves. Hooray. Okay. Right. Let's move on to the witch then. So for the witch, we want something very similar to this. So let's just clone that for the time being and call that patron witch. Class names must be informative and, like, readily conveying of what they contain, but my brain wants to say witch spoop. Decor, I guess? Okay. So in this case, we want to say cannot see sky. Also not in combat, that's kind of an important one. And is standing on grass. Same print cell? Now do we want to do any other part of this? I'm not sure. For the time being, we'll just say as long as those conditions are met. So now, same radius, I think. If it cannot see the sky, and it's an air block, then we'll just place ourselves a little cobweb there. Let's call that... Yeah. We'll probably be using rand at some point there, but not right now. Unless it is directly above water. Then we'll place a lily pad. We are actually going to need that block state a bit more, so I block state. Let's see, down dot is top solid. Face shape? Ugh, all these are deprecated. That's kind of annoying. Side solid, there we are. Boss world. Boss dot down, side up. So if it's that, we'll place inert creep. So let's see, hive creep, dead inert. Otherwise, we'll place place a cobweb. There. Alright. Later on, we could also theoretically start to replace leaves with brambles and whatnot, but for right now, it's what we got. Okay, and we'll just add that to the witch. And also change its name. It was overgrowth fine. Overgrowth is fine, I think, for the time being. So the witch is going to do this ad infinitum, but we'll see how it goes. As long as they're in shade. It'd be very interesting for, like, a server that boots up a new thing with this, and somebody just, like, I don't know, shoves the Kirin into a minecart or something and just carts them off to somewhere. It's like, okay, we're just gonna, like, get all of the patrons and, like, put them all in one spot so that everyone can access them easily. And then they do that, and then, like, they take them to spawn chunks or something, and then they come back, like, a week later, it's like spawn is enveloped by this really creepy-looking forest. It's like, what did you expect when you kidnapped 2 archfey? Like, why does spawn look like life after people? Oh, okay, yep, that's happening, alright. Okay, so we've already got a problem here, which is that the cobwebs are being placed in midair, and we want them to actually be against, like, surfaces. So we need to change that out a little bit, but we can see the inert creepers coming in. That's good to see. We haven't had any, cobwebs, any, like, lily pads turn up, but yeah, we want to change that around a little bit. Surprised Pikachu base. I'd vibe with it, but oh no. I mean, yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Right. So for web, we need to check if up has a down solid. So else if this would be boss world.get block state pos.up dot is side solid boss worlds pos.up and side.down. There. So for creep, it's on the floor. For web, it's ideally on the ceiling, but we'll go with basically anywhere. And if it's water below, then water lily. Job done. Obviously, you're not going to be able to capture all of the patrons. The Phoenix patron, for instance, is sort of like the Wandering Trader in that they are only around for a specific period of time and then they're gone. The idea being that they're sort of like Ho-Oh, you see them and you get your wish of cool magical powers. And when you're done, you get a little Phoenix pet. Which we haven't coded yet, but nonetheless. Alright, that should mean cobwebs only spawn, like, underneath surfaces now. And just while that's running for a little bit, I'm just going to more or less repeat what we had over here. Except this does actually need to be higher than that, so let's say to 8. Okay, that should clear out all of the extant cobwebs. All of the creep appears to be doing just fine. So if we see any more cobwebs, they should be all in the right place. Yep, love to see that. Very good. This also theoretically means that our patrons will be filling in a little bit of the gaps in world generation. So, when we generate them and they have their own specific starting places, they're still going to be subject to randomness, to seed RNG, which might mean that they end up not looking quite as good as they could. So like when a village generates hanging off of a cliff, for instance. Now, so far we haven't had any more cobweb, and I wonder if that's because leaves don't count as a solid block. Nope, we haven't had a lily pad though. That's good. Or possibly, no, it can't be that leaves count as being able to see sky, because we've got plenty of inert creep around. Yeah, I like the inert creep. It adds a nice little autumnal touch to things. Do the thing. Do it. Would you kindly do the thing? Not that thing, the other thing. Oh, it's because you're not undercover, of course. There you go. Tell you what, you just get in there. just hang out there and continually do the thing for me. Now, unfortunately, I can't accelerate this, or else it'd be a lot easier. What is the block name for lily pads? It is water lily. And then we also need whatever the hell inert creep ended up as. I feel like trapping them and making them do a thing is not a good idea. I mean, it's never gone bad for anyone in the past. Anyways, I'll be back in about 50 minutes, everybody. See you then. And welcome back, everybody. So we just left that running for the most part. The exception being, I think I know why we're not seeing more cobwebs now, related to how we made it how we made it so that the cobwebs have to more or less spawn on the underside of something. And I believe that it is to do with the fact that leaves don't necessarily count as being having a solid side. I think it's to do with more or less how the default parts of it work, which is a little bit of a pain in the neck, but oh well, I can tinker with that and figure that out later. But yeah, it is otherwise working nicely. We've got a fair few lily pads here. I'm probably going to try and add a qualifier there so they don't just end up completely coating water. They should just appear in like patches and such. But more or less, the creep, that should definitely be here. Oh yes. And we'll probably, I need to implement brambles at some point anyways, so I'll probably implement those over the course of the coming week, create a nice little spell for them, and then the witch can also start to place those. Those act sort of like berry bushes in 1.16, but they're non-passable. So yeah, there's that. So you'll just like walk into them and they're basically like decorative cactus, but they don't necessarily need to be standing on anything. But yeah, so very gradually we now actually have dead creeps spreading around, as well as water lilies, and eventually also cobwebs. So that looks nice. Okay. I'm actually going to free you, because as people have pointed out in the chat, it's not necessarily a good thing to have the witch be, well, to try and cage the witch, I guess. And let's also turn on Dave while we're at it. That was a sentence that I just said. Okay. So now both of those effects should be in function. Also Night Skies, who's probably already gone by now, but still. Okay, so for the last little bit of our evening, we're going to be adding a cosmetic armor piece, which is very much inspired by the Kirin over here, the Kirin's stylish outfit, which is that the Kirin has a hood, and I think it would be really nice to actually have like hoods that we can like wear and pull up and like hides our usernames, for instance. That could be good for like a stealth operation of any kind, even if it's just PvP. Like that could be really handy. So yep, you are overgrowing. Okay, I will be saying them to like their actual like 5-minute periods fairly shortly, but yeah. So let's just get out of that, and let's just go to both of these and actually set these to minutes. 6 minutes. Wait, no, that's the duration. That's the wrong thing. Okay. We don't want it to trigger with a cooldown of 5 seconds and have a duration of minutes. That's the opposite of what we want. There we go. So I'll just keep them a little bit more contained for the time being. Right. So, VO items. I believe we have like there's the hat. Okay. So item, we're gonna call this hood. Add item of type enum, loot type mundane, new item hat hood. Okay. That doesn't exist yet, but don't worry, we'll be adding it in a hot second. And what we basically need to accomplish here is an armor piece that has 2 states, and what state it's in affects rendering. Item hat hood. Extends from item armor. VO armor? I can't recall. Block it as that for the time being. Add a constructor. equipment slot will be head. Because this will be an in-hit, this will be a helmet item, essentially. Armor material, we just want that to be cloth, essentially, so that should be leather. I probably will make it dyeable, but that we probably don't have enough time to get to that just yet. Concept, blind PvP where everyone has hoods and teams have to communicate to figure out who is who. You'll need to also include, like, armor or some such to make sure that they can't see your skin, but yeah, absolutely, that'd be fun. Item VO armor. We do have that, I thought so. What's your complaint? Your complaint is that you're missing something here. What have I forgotten? Oh, the actual name. Hat hood. But yeah, just like the concept of stealth, like, the more that we can actually implement stealth in Minecraft, the better, I think, because basically every single piece of combat right now is a knockdown brawl, and that's really boring for the most part. It very much limits your options when it comes to, like, building dungeons. Like, okay, I want there to be an enemy in here. Can't make them overpowered because they will just kill the first person that walks in the room. So, but having the option, for instance right now, of setting them to be asleep so that you can move through the room carefully or such, or otherwise implementing stealth so that you can actually sneak out and avoid their detection, that kind of thing. That's really cool. That adds a lot of, like, that adds options, and that's always fun. It's never quite so much fun when everything is the same thing over and over. It's like, this is a fight room, or this is a puzzle room, and that is your options. It's nice when there's variation. Okay, render index, let's put that on 9. Okay. Now the next thing is the texture. Now, fortunately, this gives us the item stack for that. This, by the by, is for the frog hat, which was added mostly as like a reference to Nin. Just to, like, all it does is give you jump boost 1. That's it. It also looks really silly, but that's fine. Okay, so now we need an actual, like, notion of what state we're in. Actually, no, for the moment, let's just, like, actually get this together. So, that is the armor texture. Yes, good. And all of that should be fine. Okay. So that'll get added, and then we should just have a helmet piece that will turn our entire head black and purple. Finally, I can live out my gay dreams of being a frog, says Dusty. That's mostly Nin, really. That's pretty much entirely Nin's life. So let's just see if that item got there. It will not be textured, it will not be named. We're just looking to make sure it's in there. Okay, so there is our hood. And we can indeed put it on our head. Okay, when on head, +1 armor. It's not much. Technically, this is perfect stealth for if you're trying to run a scenario in which you are hidden from the players and such. But okay, that's a good start. Let's add a real quick texture for that. Because we're going to need to know what state it's in. So models. Wait, no, textures, models. Armor. And there's hat, which we want more or less a similar thing to just basic vanilla. So let's just grab liver and boot up Eclipse. Eclipse? No, Glimpse. We already have Eclipse open. Let's boot up Glimpse. Yeah, I actually, like, when I was developing the frog hat, I straight up, I gave Nin final say on what the frog looked like. And they opted for essentially just a frog sat on your head. I don't think it's even in the loot tables. I don't know if you can get it, but it's there. Okay. So, is it layer 1 that we want for the helmet? I can never remember. Apparently it doesn't matter too much. Okay, but that is the section that we want right there. So let's grab layer 1. Bring that in here. In theory, we can have the whole texture and just call it, like, Rogue Outfit or something to that effect. But for right now, we just want that. There is potential frog hat at all times. Indeed. Perhaps the true frog hat was inside of us all along. Right. So I think when the hood is down, it should be, like, around your shoulders. And when it's up, it should be, like, actually over your head. Let's see, open a recent. Patron Kirin should do. Because that gives us this. For the time being, we'll just use this as our texture. Obviously, I'll be making it... I intend to make it dyeable later. But for right now, we'll go with that. So now our item should actually have an armor texture. Don't think a frog hat should be inside you, that's where organs go. Maybe it's where the frogs go, too. I haven't seen frogs in a while, have you? Isn't it strange that when a frog is observed, there's always a human nearby? Still missing something here? Yeah, it's just the item model. That's fine. Okay, so now we should just have the item equivalent of the Kirin's hood currently. Yep, there we go. So that's the beginning of a hood right there. Yeah, not bad. Not bad so far. Not bad. Okay, so now we need a data value in order to have our hood be able to be a different thing. And the only thing that comes to mind for that would be bows. Bows have that particular kind of like data property. So yeah, these booleans, for instance. So add property. Going to call that. Actually, I don't think this will work necessarily, because I think this only works on the item and not necessarily the thing you're wearing. Yeah, I think that's just for applying to the item model. Okay, I think it might be okay, though. That might just be fine. So call that... up, I guess, or is up. Stack.has tag compound and stack.get tag compound. Has tags. And stack.get tag compound.get boolean is up. Then all of that. We actually don't need the entity for this. Okay. That's a start. Be careful which frogs you swallow, some may be harmful. They might have a little knife. You're not wrong. It's weird, but you're not wrong. Let's have that one be there, and that one be there, for the moment, at the very least. Okay. Theoretically, we could just add a second model, but it's fine, for the moment. Open... oh boy, I have to navigate this. 1 second. There we go. So open that, and let's just change the color of this for the moment. An actual proper texture can wait. For the moment, we just want to actually be able to distinguish that there is a second state to this. Okay, so now, if it's up, it should be blue. If it's down, then it should be red, or rosy, or whatever color you want to call that. Pink, sure. Magenta, let's go with that. Another thing theoretically is I could actually, I think by the way that property getter is written, I could just make it check if you're sneaking. Imagine armor that looks different depending on what you're doing. That's interesting. But okay, so check if that much works. We won't be changing through it just yet, but let's check. Okay, so currently believes it's down. Let's give @p varod hat hood 1 0. That's quantity and like damage. Is up 0 1B, I think. Has tags. Okay, it does change color. Good. Very good. So that means that we can now actually... I just go to game mode 0. We can in fact change the color of it, which means we can give it a whole different texture. Also, crucially, it means we can detect that part. So okay. Next stop. Chameleon armor, shape-shifting armor. I mean, not quite, but close. Okay. Which one did we say was, if it was up? Up is the blue one. Okay. So let's just... just want to make a quick texture change to that to make it more obvious what's what. Okay, and now we need to actually be able to change that value. So, if we go... Theoretically, the ideal here would be we just have, like, the capacity to just push a button on your keyboard, but I'm always loath of adding more key bindings because Minecraft has a lot already, and adding more via mod packs makes it just go huge. I prefer not to add key bindings where possible. Obviously, for this entire idea, you'd have to take off your hat and then do the thing and then other stuff, but we just want to basically go for right-clicking. So let's see. Bow checks your active hand and what your item stack is, but we're looking to pretty much just say, yep, success, and toggle that thing. So let's see, we want to ambi tag compound equals item stack.has tag compound, then that compound. Otherwise, new ambi tag compound. You know the witchery mob? When you first discovered, in the first world, you had the luck of finding a saddle and taming a horse, so you thought you could make them your Oh. Are you referring to something specific? Armor that changes color depending on which compass point you face? When your graduate turns slightly darker, that's its power. Compound.set boolean is up to... We need to find out what the current value is. Boolean is up equals compound.has key is up, and compound.get boolean is up. Otherwise, false. Probably shorten that to just being essentially that. Okay, this might not hold in multiplayer, but see how this goes. And we do want to set the active hands just to prevent this from, like, spamming, essentially. The Witcher mob, the only living animals that can become familiars. Oh, are you saying you found something that you couldn't turn into a familiar but wanted to? Toads that are supposed to be poisonous. Can be. Oh, you wanted to make a horse your familiar. I see, Espa. Sorry, I feel like I missed a chunk of that. I think there is like a magic armor in D&D that will increase your stealth by, like, camouflaging and stuff. Okay. So when we right-click this, we should now force it to, like, cause it to change color. Ostensibly. So, oh, we also, yep, we have our hood down now on that. Good, good. And if I put this one on, it's up, but if we right-click it and put it on, it is down! Hooray! Good. I think another thing should be that if it's not currently there, it should always be down, so when you put it on, it always needs to be pulled up or something. But that would get a little bit messy. As I say, the theoretical ideal is that we have this so that you just push a button, but it's fine. We should also theoretically have the player actually, like, put it on under some circumstance. It's like, if the player is sneaking and right-clicking, then it should A, turn it to on and also apply it to your head. But if you're just right-clicking it, then it should just, like, toggle the state or something. Or maybe you have to remove it once and it fails, but it sets it to down and then you can remove it. So you have to pull your hood down and then take it off or something. That might get a bit annoying. But yeah, it should certainly be able to add it to your add it to your head. Add it to your head. Which we can do with regular armor, so we go to right click on that. Yeah, if we check if the player is, like, sneaking, then we should also do the other thing. I've just also noticed that we don't actually set that to the item stack. We should do that. Not quite sure how that was working before then. Whoops. There. Okay, so if you're sneaking when you right-click it, then it should go straight to your head. Theoretically, if you're sneaking and you're putting on a hood that hides your identity, you probably should also default to being, like, up. There's an idea. Let's see how this goes. Okay, I'm just gonna get rid of that one, so I've only got the one in my inventory. And this one's currently down. If I right-click it, it's now up. If I shift right-click it, I'm wearing it and it's down. If I do that again, it goes up. Okay, good start. Tis not perfect system just yet, but we're getting there. So now we actually do need the current value before we set it. You want to check if you have an empty slot on your head, I guess. And the equipment slot, there we are. Yeah. So if and you don't, so let's see, if there is an item there, we just want to say not is up, otherwise we just want to say true. So it'll still toggle normally if there's something in you, if you're already wearing a helmet, but otherwise it will always be up when you shift click it, like when you shift right click it. Let's public void set is up, item stack boolean is up. so we have some quick and easy function to refer to here. There. It's always good when a sneeze alerts you that it's coming. Then you have time to actually hit the mute key. Okay. That should work perfectly now. Okay. Next question. When we render a name tag, is there a means by which we can interrupt that so that our HUD, when it is up, automatically hides our name tag, regardless of whether we are currently sneaking? Is there anything that we can do to hide that? Let's see, item, cape, helmet. Let's see, there's the name. Where does that get called? By render name. Okay, good start. Okay, so there's a specials here. And this looks to be the only thing that does render a name. Can render name? Is there... Okay, doesn't look like there's an interrupt there for us. But we might be able to manipulate it with the pre section, because we can just cancel that. Render player event. What was it? Yes, pre. Okay, entity player equals event dot get entity player. If player dot has item in slot. Item stack helmet equals player.get item in start. If helmet.get item equals VO items hood and item hat hood dot is up the helmet, then event dot set cancelled. Okay, that should mean that a player wearing a hood that is up doesn't render their name. As near as I can tell, that's the only part of here that is actually affected by that. That will also prevent the post parts though, so it's not perfect, but to do it more perfect than this, we would need to inject code. And for those of you who don't know, I was never ever ever taught how to inject code. So, and I'm given to believe that it is not a thing you want to do lightly. So yeah, we'll handle that later. So that is all that I have for you tonight. But we have successfully, let's see, created our first little piece of special behavior for the Kirin as well as the witch. Needs a little bit tweaking, but nonetheless. And we have added ourselves a nice little concealable stealthy hood. Yeah. Now, a really nice touch would maybe to, like, actually put the head of the player that's being rendered into shadow. Just, like, dip the light in there or something. As well as hide the name. But it's fine. It's fine for right now. And yeah, I will make the hood A, craftable, B, dyeable. Because I feel like it's definitely a lot more interesting if you can have, like, a team of red hooded assassins sneak into the Emperor's chambers at night or something, versus I'm completely invisible. Okay, yeah. Yes, and it's because of the hood. Okay. Huh. So if the hood is up, I'm completely invisible. We have indeed found ourselves a bug, everybody, but we do not have time to fix that. That's just sort of the limits of what we have right now. Are you a girl or a boy? This being a programming stream, I'm obligated to say yes. But, hope you've enjoyed, everybody. So our next stream should be on the Thursday, because Steam Dragonheads is taking a little bit of a break this particular time period. We'll be doing a little bit of a Foxy adventure with either the first tree or like there's a second one whose name has completely escaped me right now. One hot minute and I'll check. It's either the first tree or the other one that I got recently and whose name has gone completely out of my head. Wow, that didn't take much. Is it the first tree I'm thinking of? No? Something like
Player
Spirit
has
Soul.
joined the game.
Bleh. Surprisingly, I have more than one Fox-related game, but yeah, either way, you'll see that, like, on the Thursday. And then on Friday, with Friday night at 9, we in fact have another new horror game. We're going to be playing a wonderful little bit of Soma, so enjoy that. And we'll be back for the carousel at 9 as per usual on Saturday. And we'll be back for more of this on Tuesday at 9. Meanwhile, I do make videos at youtube.com/RumorComic, and everything I do is powered by you at patreon.com/lying. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll catch you all as ever next time. What was that game? Spirit of the North, that's it. First Tree or Spirit of the North, one of the two.